Today we're going to be modeling a waterfall based on IRR hurdles. So depending on the hurdle that the property achieves, there are certain distributions that go along with that. And the idea here is that we're trying to promote the general partner, and in a real estate acquisition, the general partner is the person managing the property, the person trying to improve the effectiveness of the property, and the limited partner tends to be more of an investor or a group of investors. This is going to go through how to distribute the cash flows of the property in different hurdles, so that we essentially promote the general partner for as the property performs better. And we've determined certain hurdle rates here and certain distribution shares that each partner will get as the IRR increases, as the return of each partner increases. So I'm going to go ahead and zero all this out, and we're going to walk through this together. And then, at the end, if there are questions, just let me know. Okay, so let me go ahead and zero everything out here. And these line items, if you have questions, just let me know, because making this, the line items can sometimes be confusing as to what they mean. Okay? Alright, so the first thing we have to understand is, what is our property? So here is the cash flows for the property in a 10-year period. So, we buy this property for $2 million, and then it gives us an operating income of 100 in the first year, 110 the second year, 150 in the third year, etc. And then it does really well, and at the end of year 10, that's a bit much. Let's say it gives us $600,000 in net operating income in year 10. But although we buy it for $2 million, we want to sell it for much more, since we're holding it for 10 years, right? So we sell it for $10 million at the end of year 10. Okay. In addition to having the operating income, you have capital expenditures on the property, which are things like leasing commissions and tenant improvements, things that you do to keep the property up to date, sort of. All right. And then cash from operations. So this is just the cash from operating the property, the cash from the sale of the property, and then this property doesn't have any debt. And I'll do some more videos on debt and acquiring properties using debt. For this video, we're not going to talk about debt. And then here, just the tax flows of the property, before any taxes. So this line is important, because this is what we're going to be using in our waterfall to distribute cash, which is essentially the cash that the property yields over time. Okay. So with that in mind, let's take a look at our waterfall structure here. Okay. So the first thing we want to know is, how much is how much equity is each partner putting into the property? Okay. So the general partner, we established, he's going to put in 10% of the equity. Okay, and that's over here. Take 10% of the purchase price. Okay. And I'm just going to make that negative, just so we can see it better. Okay. And the limited partner is going to put in 90% of the purchase price. Again, just making that negative here. So all right. And so in the first hurdle, the limited partner has an agreement with the general partner that, okay, if the property yields an IRR of 8%, we're going to distribute profits, and 90% for me and 10% for you. Okay, and then above 10%, then we're distributing this as such, and over 10%, we're distributing this as such. Okay, so if you have questions on this part of it, let me know. But now I'm just going to do the modeling. Okay, so here we have the summary of the partner returns and the various return metrics. Okay, So, and that we'll do at the end. But now we just want to look at the property cash flows. So I just separated this out because it's important to know what is cash from operations and what is cash from sale. Okay. So cash from operations is this line here. Okay, so 100,000 first year, etc. And then in year 10, we're doing really well. We're making 600,000 a year in profit in net operating income. Okay, and then the cash from the sale, we're only selling it once, so cash from sales here at the end. Okay, and then this line is the before tax cash flow. So this is what we're going to distribute to each of the partners in hurdles. Okay, so we're taking the before tax cash flows, which is this line here, and dragging it over. Now, there's just one thing we have to understand, that this is actually incorrect because in that year that we bought it, we had an income of 100,000 from the property, right? So we need to fix that because the acquisition actually cost the partners $2 million. Okay? Although, if we say that, then this 100,000 has to be pushed the other way, right? So, you can think about this in different ways. You can say, oh, that 100,000, that goes into the acquisition, or you can model from year 0, right? So I'm just going to assume that is actually the cash flow that we're going to distribute, even though the equity partners put in that much to buy it. In that first year, there was an income of 100,000, so it's if that income was distributed to them as part of the acquisition. Okay, that was confusing. Just let me know, but we're going to go with that. Okay, so how do we model this? So first thing, we want to meet our hurdle. So I'm just going to put the hurdle up here, and our hurdle is 8%. Okay, all right. So beginning balance is always last year's balance. The required return, okay, this is a formula, is this 1 plus this multiplied by the hurdle rate, right, to the power of, sorry, I did it wrong, would be the balance multiplied by 1 plus the hurdle rate, okay, to the power of, and this is a yearly model, 365 over 365. If you were doing a day model, and the return was calculated a different way, you could do a 30, 360, calculation. You could do an actual over 360 if you were modeling using dates, but now I'm just going to do it modeling using year. Okay? All right. And then don't forget to minus 1. What is it giving me? Let me try to put this in parentheses. Okay, there we go. All right, so contribution. So contributions don't change throughout the hurdles, right? And it only is a contribution if the equity partner, if there's a negative cash flow here. Okay, so when we're going to do this using Boolean logic, is this, if this is less than 0, okay, then multiply this by the partner's share, the partner's input, partner's equity share. Okay. Now I'm just gonna make this negative because this is a count, like a balance. Okay. So distributions. So we want to make sure that partner meets his return as soon as possible. So we're going to use the following formula. The minimum between the sum of these two values and this value multiplied by that partner's pro rata share up here. Okay? And then we want to make sure that we don't negative values here. Okay? And then our ending balance is our beginning balance plus the required return plus any contributions minus any distributions. Okay? Alright. So as I drag this over, that account should be zeroed out. Okay. Alright, yeah, it's zeroed out. Alright. So now we need to do our actual cash flows and check our so we take our contributions and we take our distributions and we minus our contributions. Okay, so that's a negative. Okay. Alright. So now I'm just going to IRR this. You could use an XIRR if you were using actual dates. So, we're giving it an 8%. Okay? So, in terms of distributions, we just add the partner's distributions for that period. And then, so the GP distributions, we need to figure out what the original amount was and then multiply by the GP share. Okay? So, we take the LP distributions and we divide it by the share to figure out the original amount. Okay? And then we multiply that by the GP share. Okay? Alright. So and one way you can check this is that, here at 110, so, since it's 90-10, these two should equal that. Okay? 150, etc. Alright. So let me just focus on some formatting here. Okay, so then we have to understand how much cash flows remain. So we don't want a negative from any distribution cash flow, so it would be this minus the sum of these two. And we want that to be better than 0 or greater than 0. Okay. Okay, so we have 9 million change remaining after the first hurdle to distribute in the second hurdle. Okay, and I'm just gonna copy and paste from this first hurdle. If you have questions on this part of it here, just let me know. Okay, so, and I'll change the references so that it makes it easier to understand. Okay. Of course, everything's a bit funky because we have to understand the references here. Okay, and I'm putting this up here. Alright, and this is going to be 10%, 10% IR. Okay, and then remember the contributions don't change, okay? So, the same rule applies. And then our distributions, we're just going to use the cash flow that remains after the first hurdle. And then, since it's the second hurdle for the partner, he only gets that amount, 67.5. Okay, alright. Okay, so let's just copy this. Okay, so then we're meeting our 10% hurdle here. And let's see our distributions. Let's see. Okay. Figure out what the total amount was so that we can distribute accordingly. Okay. Alright. Sum of. And this is just the cash flow here. Okay. Okay, so after the second hurdle, we have 3 million cash remaining. Okay, so this is interesting to look at. We had in the first round 9 million cash remaining, the second round 3 million cash remaining. So, that sale is really important to the cash flow that remains. All right. Okay, so then anything over 10%, just as a form here, over 10%, but we're not actually going to use that, okay? That's just to let us know that we're just distributing everything else that remains. So, whatever cash remains for the LP, take that and distribute it 45%. And then the GP, whatever cash remains, and distributing that has a greater share. Okay. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a check here. So I'm going to take this minus the sum of these two, and that should be 0 because this is our third and last hurdle. Okay, all right. So now we've modeled the hurdles over time. So now we need to model the returns for each of the partners. Okay? So, what are the LP contributions? The LP contributions are simply the contributions that he made in the first hurdle, because the contributions don't change. Okay? So, we're just going to drag that over. Okay? And then the distributions are the sum of the distributions of each hurdle. Okay? So here he gets that. And then in hurdle 2 he gets that. And in hurdle 3 he gets that. Okay? And just focus on my formatting here. Okay. And then our net cash flow is going to be our distributions minus our contributions. No, this is just a summary of everything, but it's important to understand how we got there. And I'm going to IRR check this. So, the partner is getting an effective return of 22%. Right? So clearly, he beat that initial 8% expectation. Okay? And then our equity multiple is simply the sum of this range, everything that is positive, so greater than 0, okay, greater than 0, and that over everything that is less than 0. Okay, and I'm just gonna make this a negative. So he's getting, almost four times. It was almost 5 times his multiple there, and then the profit is just the sum of everything here. Okay. Okay. Then we'll do the same thing for the general partner. Just copy these formulas here. Copy this one here. For our net cash flow. And then, so I'm just going to do the distributions first because that's easier. So the distributions for the general partner in hurdle 1 were that. In hurdle 2 were this. And in hurdle 3 were that. Okay. Okay, oops, why is that going out so far? Okay. Alright, okay. So now the distributions, right? The contributions. So the contributions don't change for the general partner, but they're not listed here in each of the hurdles, so we need to figure out what that is, okay? So that's, we just take whatever, if this cash flow is negative, right? So if this cash flow is less than 0, okay, then we're going to take this cash flow here, right? And we're going to minus the total cash flow. Sorry, we're going to add the total cash flow. Okay. And then, of course, just make that negative so that, negative. Ah, shoot. Okay, so that will be our contributions. Okay, so clearly, you know, the general partner gets a big return here from, you know, making the property perform better. And just as a final error check, I just want to check the profits, okay, of each of the cash flows, so that they're the same. Because if the profit from the property is different than the profit that I distributed, then I'm distributing something incorrectly. Okay, so I'm just going to sum. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to sum these with this here. And they're the same. Okay, so I distributed everything correctly. Okay, so just the takeaways here, you know, the general partner can get a big boost if the property performs well, and if we manage to sell it for a really high value at the end. And you know, this is modeling using IRR hurdles. So this is the first video, and I'll be posting some other ones using the same logic and debt and things like that. But thank you, and let me know if you have any comments. Okay, bye-bye.